It's so big. That's what she said.
1, 2, 3, let's switch this up.
Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Today I'm going to be going through my August TBR. So I have a couple of readathons that I plan on participating in for the month of August. So if you are interested to see all the books that I plan on reading for those readathons, then keep on watching. There are 3 readathons that I plan on participating in for the month of August. The first one is one that I've been doing all year long, and that is the Buzzwordathon, and that is hosted by Books and Lala. And then the second one I also participated in earlier this year, and that is the Magical Readathon, which is hosted by Book Roast. This is the autumn equinox semester, so the continuation from what I did in the spring. I'll have that video linked down below as well. And then the third readathon that I plan on participating in for the month of August is the Full Moon Readathon, and that is hosted by Jan. I will have all of the host videos, announcement videos, and all that stuff linked down below in case you are interested in participating. But yeah, we're gonna jump right into the books that I plan on reading for the month of August. For the Full Moon Readathon, I do plan on collecting all of the characters. That is my goal, and all of the different characters have a prompt that is like an action prompt and not necessarily a book or a reading related prompt. So I'm not going to get into that in this video. That'll be something separate. You'll have to follow me like on Instagram or something to see that, but this is just going to be talking about the books I will be reading for that readathon. So I purposefully try to pick books that would fulfill prompts for multiple readathons in one. So I'm kind of doubling up in that sense. I'm not necessarily doubling up where I'm fulfilling multiple prompts within a single readathon with one book, but I'm fulfilling multiple prompts across the readathons that I'm participating in with one book, if that makes sense. So I have all of my notes and things and books written on my hand dandy notebook. And the first readathon is the Buzzword Readathon, like I said, and the prompt is a body part. This book will also fulfill the O in alchemy. If you haven't seen my video that I did back in April about this, but I'm doing the Dreamwalker Calling, so I need an O in alchemy, which is read a book that is the first book in a series. And then for the Full Moon Readathon, the first skeleton character prompt, which is read a hardcover book, and that is Faceless Saints by M.K. Lob. I will be reading the synopses off my phone because I couldn't tell you what these books are about because I don't remember and I obviously haven't read them. After her father's murder at the hands of the Umbrazian military, Rosanna Lacertosa is willing to do whatever it takes to dismantle the corrupt system, tapping into her powers as a disciple of patience, joining the rebellion, and facing the boy who broke her heart. As the youngest captain in the history of Palazzo Security, Damien Venturi is expected to be ruthless and strong and to serve the Saints with unquestioning devotion. But 3 years spent fighting in a never-ending war have left him with deeper scars than he wants to admit, and the fear of confronting the girl he left behind. Now a murderer stalks Ambrazia's citizens. Damien and Rose must team up to find the killer, even if it means digging up buried emotions. As they dive into the underbelly of Ambrazia, the pair will discover something more sinister and far less holy. With darkness closing in and time running out, will they be able to save the city from an evil so powerful that it threatens to destroy everything in its path? That sounds pretty good. I can see why I put this on my TBR. Makes sense. Next up, I have to get an O in Spells of Incantation, Charm Short Trip, which is a manga or graphic novel. And then also for the skeleton prompt, I have to read a book that is 206 to 300 pages. And for this, I chose Black Paradox by Junji Ito. Now, this book is a little bit dark. I didn't initially know that when I settled upon this book, but Junji Ito is an author that I've been wanting to check out, you know, their work for a while now. I have Tomi, but I haven't read it yet, and there's some other works that I want to check out. This one was like a fairly short book. The cover looked really interesting, so I was like, boom, like done. And then when I read the synopsis, I was like, okay, we can still make this work. So the synopsis says, and I'm gonna paraphrase a little bit because it's, like I said, dark. 4 people intent on ending their lives meets through a website called Black Paradox. Maruso, a nurse who despairs about the future. Taburo, a man who is tortured by his doppelganger. Paitan, an engineer with his own robot clone. And Barachi, a girl who agonizes about the birthmark on her face. I hope I said those names right. I probably didn't. They wander together in search of the perfect death, faithfully opening a door that leads them to a rather bizarre destiny. So the synopsis for this book is like very vague. I really don't know a whole lot other than that these people very much want to end their lives. Have no idea, like can't even begin to predict what is going to happen in this story and where this is going to go. But I guess I'm going to find out in August. Next up, I have to get an O in Art of Illusion, Levitation Spell. So I have to read a book without touching the floor. Easy enough. I'll probably just like read on my bed or on a sofa or something. Not a big deal. And then for the Full Moon Readathon, for the Jack-o'-lantern character, one of the prompts is to read a nostalgic spooky book. So for this, I will be reading R.L. Stine's Fear Street, Cheerleaders, The First Evil. I don't really know a whole lot about it. I've never read any books by R.L. Stine. I was not, you know, a reader as a kid, so I didn't like grow up reading Goosebumps and stuff like that. So this will be like fun for me, but I am looking forward to my first R.L. Stine experience. So hopefully it turns out to be really good. Newcomers, Corky and Bobby Corcoran, want more than anything to make the cheerleading squad at Shady High. But as soon as the Corcoran sisters are named to the team, terrible things happen to the cheerleaders. The horror starts with a mysterious accident near Fear Street Cemetery. Soon after, piercing screams echo through the empty school halls, and then ghastly murders begin. Can Corky and Bobby stop the killer before the entire cheerleading squad is destroyed? So this sounds like it'll be like a fun read. Like, I'm not expecting it to be too horror or scary or spooky or anything like that. I think it's going to be like very fun. The next book is one of 3 books in this entire list that actually only serves for one prompt. So the prompt that this book will be serving for is the Q in Psionics and Divination that I have to get, reading the future. So I have to read a book that's set in the future, and I will be reading A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. I know absolutely nothing about this book other than it has something to do with robots. Which is why I picked it. I believe that Jen over from Genderqueer, I'll link their channel down below, recently read this book, and that was where I first heard of it, so I'll be checking it out in August. So it says, centuries before, robots of Panga gained self-awareness, laid down their tools, wandered en masse into the wilderness, never to be seen again. They faded into myth and urban legend. Now, the life of the teen monk who tells this story is upended by the arrival of a robot, there to honor the old promise of checking in. The robot cannot go back until the question of what do people need is answered. But the answer to that question depends on who you ask and how. In a world where people have what they want, does having more matter? That's interesting. I feel like this book is going to be like deep. I wasn't really expecting that, but I'm hoping actually that might be kind of cool. I like stories that are like deep and like very existential and self-reflecting and stuff. I'm kind of into stuff like that. Not all the time, but I can get into it. So next I have to get a D in Psionics and Divination, Omen Lily. So I have to read a book with either lilies on the cover or in the title or the author's name. And then for the Jack-o'-lantern character, one of the prompts is to read a book that was picked by someone else. So for these prompts, I will be reading It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is a book that I actually never had any plans on reading, to be quite honest. It was never on my TBR. I hadn't planned on putting it on my TBR. But what ended up happening was my god sister and my brother's girlfriend and I had gone to the bookstore, and they decided that they wanted to read It Ends With Us, which was fine. That was a book that I actually did want to read at some point eventually. Not necessarily right now, but at some point. But since that's what they wanted to read, I was like, okay, like that's fine. Like, so we all got the book, and we, you know, set up a whole discussion in my Discord, and you know, it was good. I enjoyed the book, but still had not planned on reading the second book. There was a lot of hype leading up to it, but then when it came out, it seemed like a lot of people were very disappointed in the book, so I was like, nah, not interested. My brother's girlfriend, on the other hand, was so in love with the first book that she immediately ran back to the bookstore to get the second book, read that, and she loved that, and she's like, you have to read it. Like, I'm already invested in the characters, like, why not? Plus, it fits these prompts perfectly, so I actually couldn't have asked for a better time to read this book. It's kind of interesting how fate kind of worked itself out, because I never planned on reading this book, and now I have the perfect excuse to read this book. I'm not going to read the synopsis for this book. I actually have no idea what this book is even about. I've never read the synopsis for the second book because I was afraid that if I read the synopsis for the second book that it would spoil things that happened in the first book. I don't want to spoil it for you in case you may want to read it. So next, in order for me to get the D in Psionics and Divination, I obviously have to start with the O in Psionics and Divination, and that prompt is Intro to Tarot, so I had to do the random tarot card generator, and the card that I ended up drawing was the Magician. And then for the vampire character, one of the prompts is to read a book with your favorite supernatural character, and my favorite supernatural characters are witches. So the book that I will be reading for these prompts is The Secret Circle by L.J. Smith. So this one just says, Cassie is initiated into her hometown's coven of witches, but her love for the coven's leader's boyfriend could prove deadly. So very simple, short, sweet, to the point. We love that. Hopefully this is a very enjoyable witchy book, because that's what I'm looking for. Next up, I also have to get an O in lore, which is Tale of the Guide, a bookseller's recommendation, and then also for the vampire character, I have to read a book with blood in the title or blood on the cover. And for this prompt,
we interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
hi, hello, yes, future me here, editing me here, popping in. We're just gonna let her do her thing in the background. She can keep talking. But I have changed the book that I plan on reading for this prompt. So I'm now going to be reading Blood Debts by, I think the author is Terry J. Benton Walker. I think that's the author's name. And the reason why I'm changing is because Paco from Bad Witch Books recently read this book and he described it as being very like CW-esque, which is my vibe. He like compared it to like Secret Circle and like the originals because it's set in New Orleans, and I'm like, okay, say less. So yeah, that's the book I'm going to be reading. My like very basic nominal understanding of what this book is about, I think it's about like this brother sister like twin duo, but they're like kind of estranged, and I think one of them may have killed their father, but I'm not sure if it was on purpose or if it was by accident. But now they have to like work together because they found out, I guess, that their mother has a curse on her or something. So they're trying to work together to figure out like who put this curse on their mother. And the reason why they're working together and why this is important to figure out is because they are afraid that if they don't figure this out, whoever did this to their mother will be coming after them next, because they were next in line for the throne before their family was dethroned. So it sounds like a lot going on. I'm hoping that it's really good. I think Paco said he gave it like 4 stars maybe. So yeah, really looking forward to this. So excited. It's probably gonna be one of the first books that I read this month. So yeah, just wanted to pop in and let you guys know there's been a change of plans.
Now back to our show.
The last class for the Magical Readathon is Art of Illusion. I have to get a Q in Art of Illusion, voice altering spells, which I have to read an audiobook basically. That's super easy because most of my books I hybrid read anyway. And then for the Devil prompt, I have to read a book with fire involved. And so for these prompts, I will be reading A Court of Silver Flame by Sarah J. Maas. This is a book that I have been needing to read for months now. I read Akabor and Frost and Starlight back in January and just have not picked up this last book in the series. It's so big. I've just been super intimidated by the size of it, and you know, I just keep putting it off. But I need to read this book in August, one, because it fits these prompts perfectly, and then also Paula from Family and Books, I will link her channel down below, is doing a read along for the whole ACOTAR series. So this time I have multiple reasons to actually read the book. So let's hope that I actually stick to it and don't swap it out for some other book at the last minute. The last reading prompt for the Full Moon Readathon is for the Devil character, and that is to read a book with a morally great character. And for that prompt, I will be reading Comfort Me with Apples by Catherine M. Valenti. Now, I know absolutely nothing about this book. This is a book that Princess from Castle Library has talked about numerous times and has always had like really great things to say about it, but I actually have no idea what it's about, so we're gonna find out together. It says, Sophia was made for him, her perfect husband. She can feel it in her bones. He is perfect. Their home together in Arcadia Gardens is perfect. Everything is perfect. It's just that he's away so much, so often. He works so hard. She misses him, and he misses her. He says he does, so it must be true. He is the perfect husband, and everything is perfect. Oh my gosh, take a shot every time this thing says perfect. But sometimes Sophia wonders about things, strange things, dark things. The look on her husband's face when he comes back from a long business trip. The questions he will not answer. The locked basement she is never allowed to enter. And whenever she asks the neighbors, they can't quite meet her gaze. But everything is perfect, isn't it? Oh, what in the world? What? That took a turn I was not expecting. But it sounds great. It sounds like a nice mystery thriller. And you guys know, like, I'm a mystery thriller girly, so I hope this is actually really good. The last book that is on my TBR for the month of April is not for either Readathon specifically. It's actually for like a side quest or whatever for the Magical Readathon, and that is Summoning the Impling. And so there are 6, I guess, prompts or like, you know, boxes that you have to check off in order to summon your Impling. So one of the first ones is just to start the book at night, which is really easy. My goal is going to be to hit these other 5 all in one book. So I have to read a book that is from an author that I've read before. It is between 400 to 450 pages. One letter appears in the title at least twice. Released this year, 2023, or last year, 2022. and has blue on the cover. And the book that I have found, I had to search high and low to find a book that would hit all of these points. The book that I have settled on is, drumroll, Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. It checks off all the boxes. It's by Abby Jimenez, which wrote one of the best books that I read all year, which was Yours Truly. This actually is part 1 to Yours Truly. They're interconnected standalone, so you can read Yours Truly without having read Part of Your World, which is what I did. But technically Part of Your World does come first, so obviously it's by an author that I've read before. There is blue on the cover. It comes in at a whopping 400 pages. It was released last year, and there are multiple O's and R's in the title. So with that, I will be summoning my Impling. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books that are on my TBR. Also, let me know if you plan on participating in any readathons for the month of August and which ones. And what books do you have on your TBR? I don't normally have this many books on my TBR. Normally, I try to stay within like 5 to 7. So 10 is pretty ambitious for me. Hopefully I'll be able to read all of these books in the month of August. I'll be able to collect all my characters and complete all my classes and feel very accomplished at the end of the month. But who knows, we'll see. But that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far into the video. Do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up. Like it if you enjoyed the video. And be sure to subscribe if you are not already subscribed. My socials and links and all that will be down below in the description box as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.